gitu kan? Ini suara saya masuk nggak?
Masuk. Oh, mic-nya dimatiin.
Mana? Ini mana gitu? Baik, Pak.
Di sininya kita ada suara nggak, Bang?
Sini. Udah dimatiin. Saya matiin.
Di
Baik, Pak.
kita suara.
Oh, muncul ya, Mas? Streamnya kok nggak muncul? Udah nyala belum sih?
Udah kan?
Baik, Pak.
Ininya gede.
Oh, ya.
Oh iya, tadi kecil sekali.
Oh, heeh.
Apa aja dulu masuk.
Ininya kemana? Live streaming.
Oh, si Jasnya belum ya?
Biasanya belum dong.
Makanya nih. Telepon dulu.
Live.
Halo, Jas. Okay, join the meeting. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's already see you. Okay. See you. Itu udah. Kenapa? Di YouTube aku cek belum. Oh, ini udah live. Udah. Halo, Jess.
Hello.
Halo.
Do I still need to change my background or that's okay?
I think you should change your background to
Okay.
virtual background.
Okay. I'll try to do that. So how can I get the background? I need to do the visual background, right?
I will.
Share with me.
Yes. I already shared it through the line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I should download that or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got it. Just a minute.
Recording in progress.
Halo, Pak Reza, tahu bisa tolong jadiin just, oh udah co-host dia. Oke, makasih.
Okay, I got it. And I should share my PowerPoint right now, right?
Not yet because we're going to have an opening.
Okay, so I can set it up later, right?
Yes.
Okay. But Eva, can I try? Can I try now?
Yes,
And I
yes.
will close it.
Okay.
So can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, hi. Hello, Miss Fajra.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine.
Thank you for
A little bit nervous.
coming here. Excuse me?
I'm a little bit nervous about my presentation.
Don't be. It's you.
Well, it's quite
Thank-
interesting. This is my first time here like this.
Oh, really? You never done this before?
Well, I present my presentation online, but that's recorded. I didn't really join this webinar like this. Well, maybe I just talk. I didn't make a presentation like this, not in a meeting room like this.
You'll be good. You'll be
Okay.
good. You'll be fine.
Okay, hope so.
Pak Reza dan Bu Eva udah siap?
Siap.
Kita tunggu. We shall wait for another 5 minutes, Jess.
Sure,
Is it okay? Yeah.
sure, of course.
To let some participants to join us
Sure.
on Zoom. But for your information, this webinar will be live streaming. Will be on YouTube and Facebook. Our Facebook.
Oh, really?
So more people will see you.
Okay.
Watch you. Yeah.
So I hope everything goes smoothly.
Sure.
Can I also record for my own record?
It's okay. If you can, yes, please. Okay, just let's begin our webinar.
Sure.
Okay. But first we will we will resume our Indonesian anthem. Sigit. you. Let's or shall we begin our webinar this evening? Ms. Jessa, our keynote speaker of our today's webinar, representative of Indonesian Community Organization. I see Mbak Titin, the president of PPI Taiwan, Mr. Fendi Yosin, the presidents of Perpita, Mr. Sulistiono, director of trade of IETO, Indonesian students, professionals, migrant workers, and all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening to all of you. On behalf of the representative of the IETO in Taipei, allow me to convey our highest appreciation to Ms. Jason, who has spared her very busy hours to share with us this evening about Aliens Permanent Resident Certificate, or APRC, current policy and regulation. Our fervent appreciation is also conveyed to all participants who are attending the webinar through Zoom, room meeting, or through our Facebook account, also the YouTube. I do wish the topic that will be discussed in this webinar is very much relevant to your interests, especially in regard to your resident permit and well-being in Taiwan. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of unprecedented times in history, where an infectious disease has profoundly changed or the way we live. Physical distancing, wearing masks in public, frequent hand washing, working from home, like most of us in Indonesia, for example, and virtual meetings such as the one we are having at this moment has become our common way to meet each other. Many countries resorted to isolation and protectionism, from sealing their borders, restricting foreign nationals to enter their territory, that has limited people from migrating as normal as before. These are only a glimpse of our new reality. Participants, ladies and gentlemen, the second priority of Indonesian diplomacy right now is strengthening the protection of Indonesian citizens abroad. This includes supporting their well-being. Such protection becomes more important in this situation, such as since the pandemic is far from over. A new variant of COVID-19, so-called Omicron, has just been found. Many of us are anxious and asking when will things get back to normal. One thing for sure, that life might not be the same after COVID-19. There are so many unknowns and uncertainty right now. In this regard, IETO has to address issues related to the well-being of Indonesian nationals in Taiwan, including their stay permit. As foreigners, stay permit is our main requirement to assure our activity in Taiwan goes well without any problem. And it applies to all professions. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, recently IETO receives quite many questions about the policy and regulation on how to obtain the APRC in Taiwan. I assume that the questions come from those who wish to stay longer in Taiwan for work after completing their study or establish their business. We could be able to answer those questions, but I think we cannot answer it in comprehensive wise. For that reason, we organize this webinar and present before you the competence official from the National Immigration Agency in Taiwan, so that you will get the first-hand and the latest information regarding the APRC policy and regulation. I do fervently hope that this webinar will be beneficial to all of you and meet your inquiry concerning your stay permit for the sake of your well-being in Taiwan. I wish you have a fruitful discussion and stay healthy. Now I will give the screen to Ibu Eva, who will be our moderator. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Fajar, for the time. Thank you for the opening remarks to open the webinar on law and regulation in Taiwan regarding the APRC. And then now we are going to continue our webinar. But first, I would like to read the Miss Jess Cheng curriculum vitae. Miss Jess Cheng working experience at the immigration, especially at the Taipei City Service Center from April 2020 until now as executive officer. And before, she was also working at the Taipei City Service Center as an officer. She also, Miss Jess Cheng also has an education, Master of Government and Public Policy, London School of Economics and Political Science in UK. And also, she has also an education from the International Relations Group, Department of Political Science from National Taiwan University. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Jess Cheng, Cheng Jieru 女士，欢迎。
Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Fafaja, for your warm welcome. And I'm very happy to be here again. So I'm going to give you some ideas about the regulations and some rules about APRC application here in Taiwan. So right now, let me share with you my PPT today. So once again, Selamat malam, everyone. Good evening. My name is Justin, Executive Officer of Taipei City Service Center, National Immigration Agency. And thanks to KDEI's invitation, I'm so happy to be here again. And just like Ms. Faja said, that it's been tough for the past 2 years for Indonesia, Taiwan, and many countries because of COVID-19. And thanks to KDEI again for this arrangement for the webinar, so I can still be here, share with you some information about permanent residency in Taiwan tonight. And I sincerely hope that the pandemic situation will be easing off soon around the world, so our life will be back to normal in no time. So back to our topic today. We can see my topic here today is about APRC application here in Taiwan. And for the presentation tonight, first I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the basic criteria for permanent residency in Taiwan, and following through the basic requirement, I will give you, I think some of you have already heard about the Act of the Recruitment and Employment of Foreign Professionals, right? So I'm going to elaborate on those amended regulations relating to permanent residency application after briefly covering the history and of the Act of the Employment Gold Card application. So before we talk about permanent residency in Taiwan, we first need to know how a foreigner reside in Taiwan legally. That is, how they can apply for ARC in Taiwan. Okay, so here we can see this little blue card. I think all of participants tonight must recognize this little blue card. It's Taiwan's alien resident certificate. Foreigners who legally reside in Taiwan will be issued one of the residence certificate. And here we need to pay attention to some of the important information on this card. Here you can see that this part is a foreigner's ID number in Taiwan. And National Immigration Agency just started the 10-year reform program from this January. So now the new format of the UI number is similar with that of Taiwan citizens' ID number, which is one English letter continuing with 9 numbers, which hopefully will make it more convenient for foreigners who operate in some internet platforms. And the most important part is the expiry of the ARC, you can see here. One must come for extension starting from 30 days before the expiry and no later than the expiry date, so to avoid overstay here in Taiwan. For that, we need to focus on that because that will also affect one's APRC application. So please be aware of your expiry of your ARC. And at the bottom, you can see the foreigners' residence reasons right here. Okay. So according to Article 22 and 23 of Immigration Act Taiwan, a foreigner who wants to apply for a residence certificate in Taiwan must apply a visitor or a resident visa and have at least one of these residence reasons you can see here. That I didn't put it in English, and I will give you some explanation. So first, the residence reasons are employment, or depend on your spouse, or minor child depend on lineal ascendant. For example, any one of the parents or grandparents, and investment. And or if you are a foreign company's representative here in Taiwan, you can also apply for an ARC. Or anyone who enters Taiwan with a resident visa, such as a student or immigrant workers, or any other approved reasons, is eligible for ARC application. Though I just mentioned that originally a visa is a must when applying for a residence certificate. However, according to the amended Act for the Recruitment and Employment for Foreign Professionals, foreigners who are employed in Taiwan as a foreign professional, even they enter under the visa exemption program, they are now eligible for employment ARC application. So more details will be given later. So why do we need to go through the ARC application first? That's because according to Article 25 of Immigration Act, if a foreigner wants to apply for a permanent certificate, he or she needs to legally hold an ARC for at least 5 years and stay in Taiwan for over 183 days in those 5 years. And just like I mentioned previously, if a foreigner happens to overstay for less than 30 days, which results in overstay penalty without expulsion, when the foreigner wants to apply for an APRC permanent residency, 1 resident years will be deducted. For example, that is, the foreigner needs to reside for at least 6 consecutive years before he or she can apply for APRC because of the overstay, less than 30 days, I'm sorry. And besides the requirement for minimum consecutive residence reasons, a qualified applicant also needs to meet these criteria, like minimum wages and clean police records and past health check and etc. However, exemptions and options for those requirements are possible according to different personal cases. For more details, I suggest that you can visit NIA websites. So here I want to point out the residence period as the immigrant workers, like you can see here. Residence years as the immigrant workers or students does not count for APRC residence years formula. So suppose in these years you have held a student ARC for 4 years and then turned into an employment ARC for 1 year. then you are still not qualified for APRC application in terms of residence years, because only the 1 year for employment counts for APRC application. And those years for students does not count. And the other thing we need to be aware is that ROC citizen, Taiwan citizens is excluded for APRC application. So if you are a Taiwan citizen, even that you hold dual nationality, you are not qualified for APRC applications. Okay, so a foreigner can skip the requirement for minimum residence years if he or she is qualified for a plum blossom card, as you can see here. So basically, if a foreigner needs to be the one who has made special contributions to Taiwan, or who is senior professionals needed by Taiwan, or you can even invest at least 15 million NT dollars in Taiwan's company, or at least 30 million NT dollars in Taiwan's central government bonds for 3 years, and then you are qualified for APRC applications. You can skip all those 5 consecutive years residency. But once again, if you are ROC citizens, you are excluded for this application as well. Okay, so in previous slides, we went through the basic requirements for APRC applications. However, in order to compete for global talents, Taiwan has made some regulations relaxations. That is the Act for Recruitment and Employment of Foreign Professionals. And so at the first part, we're going to make a brief introduction to the Act of the Recruitment and Employment of Foreign Professionals. And then we will start with the brief history of the Act, and then go for the structure of the Act, including defining whom are the targets, who are the foreign professionals we mentioned, and what are the key amendments of the Act. Okay. So global talent has ever been more mobile or sought after, and a complex phenomenon that makes many forms. The movement of people with skills includes migrant workers and students, and even tourists who decide to stay abroad. Countries attracting global talents increase their stock of human and tech skills. And in the past decades, many have welcomed foreign professionals and students to redress domestic skill shortages and to quicken economic growth. That's what we can see. So in these circumstances, competing for global talents, taking efficient measures to strengthen the recruitment of foreign professionals stands high on Taiwan government's agenda. So in order to create a more friendly legislative environment to attract global talents, the Act of the Recruitment and Employment for Foreign Professionals was drafted on this background. It was eventually launched in, as you can see here, February 2018. And with the relaxation of regulations, the outcomes from the past 2 years tells us that we are on the right track. However, we still need to speed up for global talent recruiting. And following through this timeline, we see the proposal of amendment here will soon be brought up in 2020. And with a clear target and strong consensus among all government sectors, the amended act was soon passed in its 3rd readings in Legislative Yuan, just within 1 year, and was come into effect on this October 25th. So the amended act further enables loosening of regulations on visas, employment and residence of foreign professionals, and releasing more preferential offers relating to social insurance, tax, and retirement programs. We will see more details in the slides later. So who are the foreign professionals defined in the Act? Here I make a triangle to make it more clear to you. So in the Act, foreign professionals are categorized into 3 groups, as you can see here. According to Article 4 of the Act, they are professionals, special professionals, and senior professionals. At the bottom of the triangle, we see professionals, those who obtain work permits to do professional jobs listed in Article 46, paragraph 1st, subparagraph 1 to 6, and Article 48, paragraph 1, subparagraph 1 and 3 are defined as foreign professionals. Well, basically, they are foreign workers who are so-called white-collar workers here in Taiwan, as you can see here. And at the middle part of the triangle is special professionals. These foreign special personnels who possesses special expertise needed by this Taiwan. And those professionals fall into 9 special fields, which are deemed as key professionals field important to our nations. Each special field is related to a certain government authority. For example, sports, tech, cultural, economic, finance, such as that. And each special field is related to a certain government authority, as I mentioned. And this a work permit issued a special professional will be reviewed jointly by Ministry of Labor and certain government authorities in this special field. Okay, so at the top of the triangle, we see the senior professionals. They are basically foreigners who are qualified for Plum Blossom card applications, as mentioned. And their applications will also be reviewed by a joint committee summoned by NIA when they issue their applications. So let's see the structure of the amended act. The act is basically about foreign professionals' stay, residence, employment, as you can see here, employment and social welfare in Taiwan. And the amended act includes 27 articles relating how foreign professionals and their spouse, children, parents obtain work permit, residency, and other important social welfare. Well, this presentation will focus on some key improvements in residency. As pointed out here, they are visa exemptions, employment seeking residency, and criteria for APRC applications. We will especially focus on that tonight. So we will see that one by one. Okay. So before the act came into effect on this October 25th, if a foreigner wants to work in Taiwan, they need to find a job first. And their employer and only their employers can apply for a work permit from the Ministry of Labor for them. And with the work permit, then they can apply for an employment visa, which is an entry permit to come into Taiwan. And after arrival, they need to apply for a residence certificate if possible. So the process costs time and may be very complicated for both the foreigners and their employers, which might greatly discourage them from working in Taiwan. So this amended act just waive it for the foreigners who are already in Taiwan and seeking for professional employment. So once they have the work permit, they can apply for residency to National Immigration Agency without having a visa first, just like I mentioned in our previous slides. And one of the key policy of the act is employment gold card, as you can see here. It's also regulated in this amended act. So what is employment gold card? The employment gold card is a 4-in-1 card. With one-click application, your application will be reviewed and passed through related government sectors, which allows cardholders to have entry visa, work permit, residence certificate, and re-entry permit at once. And moreover, it's an open work permit to cardholders that they can seek and change employment freely instead of having their employers to apply for them. It's different from the previous employment ARC because just like I mentioned that they used to have their employers to apply work permit for them before they can apply for an ARC. But right now, they can do that by themselves. Okay. So the amendment of the Act further liberalized regulations in Go Card applications as well. And the changes are mainly in these three parts, as we can see here. As we mentioned that foreigners want to apply for a residence certificate, a virtual visa is required. For Go Card applicants, it saves time for them to apply for a residence visa separately, but they still need to have their passport verified by Taiwan delegation offices or Bureau of Consular Affairs before a Go Card is issued. The amendment of the Act made a further exemption to it. That is, if a special professionals who apply for Go Card when they are already in Taiwan, they can skip one step of verifying passport, which makes the review process even more efficient and less time consuming. And the other one is the expansion of professional fields. So we can see that here. The new one is national defense. And for those cross-disciplinary special professionals, their applications will now be reviewed by a joint committee summoned by National Development Council. And in addition to the increase of special fields to 9 professional fields, modifications and relaxations of criteria in each special field is also seen in related regulations and rules. We expected that the new framework will help to find more professionals that are required for the country's development. And one minor change is that extension application is now open to Go Card holders. As before this October 25th, if a Go Card is expired, they can only reapply again, but right now they can apply for extension. So like exemption of residence visa applications to open for Go Card extension, it accelerate and simplify the application process because we've already have all the informations of the Go Card holders. So if they apply for the Go Card extension, their previous documents will be automatically bring to their new applications. That saves time. And if a Go Card holders fail to complete extension before their Go Card residence expires, they can also apply for a temporary 6-month extension of regular residency instead. So they can avoid their overstay here in Taiwan. So, but before that, they cannot apply for the 6-month extension, but right now they can do that. So here to the main part of tonight's presentation. Another milestone is on relaxations of permanent residency criteria. So before a foreigner can apply for a permanent residency here in Taiwan, a certain time of continuous residency is required, as I mentioned previously. I'm sorry about that. And according to Article 25, as you can remember that, an adult foreigner who holds a legal residence certificate for at least 5 years, 5 consecutive years, and with each year staying in Taiwan for over 183 days, fulfill the requirements for minimum residency for APRC applications. And this residency formula applies to all foreigners before the amendment. But now, it's like the changes in the way we count the days for foreign professionals. As we can see here, we used to ask for a minimum stay for for over 183 days in each year. You can see here. And consider that travel across nations may be necessary for some high rank position. Now, foreign professionals just have to stay for at least 183 days on average, and for the 5 consecutive years. And here's the change. And it would make it easier for those foreign professionals to meet the requirement of minimum residency. And compared to the residency requirement for foreign professionals, besides the relaxations on minimum resident days, foreign special professionals just need to reside for 3 consecutive years. As you can remember that those are go-card holders or go-card applications. They just need to reside for 3 consecutive years, and then they are eligible for APRC applications. You can see here. And they also just need to stay here for at least 183 days on average for those 3 years. And again, based on Article 25 of Immigration Act, foreigners who are approved to reside in Taiwan as a student or migrant worker who is employed as a housekeeper, attendant, ship crew, and etc. are excluded for APRC application. However, as the transformation of our domestic market needs, we must admit that the idea is somewhat somewhat outdated. Thus, this act further introduced the other key relaxation on regulations. That is, if a foreign, as we can see here, if a foreign professional or foreign special professional obtain their master degree or PhD from Taiwan's university, they earn deduction for requirement of residence years for APRC applications. For foreign professionals, master degrees counts for 1 year or PhD counts for 2 years, while for foreign special professionals, PhD will count for 1 year deduction. But you need to know that, but you need to notify that those degrees must be obtaining from the universities here in Taiwan. So right now, a very quick question for you. For go-card holders who obtain his or her PhD in National Taiwan University, what's the minimum requirement of residence years if she plans to apply for APRC here in Taiwan? Do you remember? For a go-card holder, just like I mentioned before, a go-card holder just need to reside here in Taiwan for 3 consecutive years, right? And because she obtained her PhD in National Taiwan University, so she basically earns 1 year deduction. So that would be 3 deduct 1 year, that would be 2 years. Then she will be eligible for APRC applications. Okay. So for the top of the triangle, the senior professionals, well, basically they need to prove that they are the one we need. Just like mentioned, you need to make some special contributions to the nation, or you need to prove that you are the only one we need for in those special field. So that's basically the same for plum bluff and card applications. Okay. So one of the key factors which significantly affects foreigners' will to stay abroad is whether their families can join them. Well, in the Mandate Act of the Recruitment and Employment of Foreign Professionals, it also allows foreign professionals, foreign special professionals, and senior professionals to enjoy almost the same treatment in terms of permanent residency applications. So, which means that their families are also included in this special act. Well, the only difference is when they start to count for those years for their APRC applications. Well, here for families, it refers to only spouse and minor children and adult children who have physical or mental disabilities that they are unable to take care of themselves. to sustain their own livings, as we can see the definition here. Okay, so let's make an example to make it more clear. Well, suppose a senior professional obtain permanent residency in year 2021. His families can apply for apply for APRC right after the senior professionals get his APRC. And for families and special professionals, if foreign special professionals obtain his APRC in year 2021, and for his families, the 5 years will start from the year that the special professionals obtained his APRC. So his families can apply for APRC in year 2024. I'm sorry, 3 years. Will start from 2021 and counting from that 3 years, 2024. That's the earliest point his families can apply for APRC. And for foreign professionals, those 5 years also starts from year 2021. So 5 years will be 2026. So a foreign professionals families, they can apply for APRC 5 years after the foreign professionals obtained his APRC. Is that clear? Okay. So after a foreign professional, special professional, or senior professional and their families obtaining a permanent resident certificate according to this special act, they must not leave Taiwan for more than 5 years without any entry, so they can keep their APRC valid, while the rest of APRC holders need to stay in Taiwan for at least 183 days each year unless they are approved for file exemptions for it. So just need to make sure that you don't leave Taiwan for over 5 years without any entry, then the APRC will be valid. Okay, so that's basically my presentation for regulations about APRC tonight. And I thank you for your listening and hope it will be helpful for your APRC applications. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin, for your presentation. It's a very fruitful one. And before we are welcome our participants to ask questions, we first have a photo session first. Okay, I think already photo session. In our live in Facebook and YouTube, there are a lot of our participants already have a questions for you, but we also want to invite our participants in the Zoom room if there is Mr. Tion, Mr. Jeffrico, or Mrs. Titin and Mr. Fendi would like to ask questions. The floor is yours. But okay, I am going to read one of the question here. Firstly, I want to thank Yeto for the program and information. Also thank Ms. Jestong for the information. Just a quick question. I listened to your explanation and presentation. One of the requirements is to stay in Taiwan for 5 consecutive years with ARC. However, for students like me, we study in Taiwan for 4 years and 1 year employee ARC. But as Ms. Chung said the 4-year students ARC doesn't count. Is there any other ways for students to stay longer in Taiwan after they graduated and work for 1 year and given the employee permit by the company?
Well, I don't quite understand what does the participant means that stay longer as a student.
I mean, they studied here for 4 years,
4 years,
and then
yes.
after they graduate, they can have the visa working permit for 6 months, and then they can prolong the visa for another 6 months. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's 1 year for giving them the chance to
find a job here.
yeah, find a job in Taiwan. And then what he means is how to stay longer in Taiwan to work.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, but I need to say that you need to find a job with that 1 year, and after that, well, just like I mentioned at the very beginning, that you need to be qualified for some legal residence reasons here, like you can depend on your spouse here in Taiwan, or you can have a job here, or you can do some investment here. So if you are qualified for those ARC reasons, you can apply for that after graduate. But if you just plan to find a job here in Taiwan, and you need to do that with 1 year after your graduation, otherwise there's no regulation saying that you can extend for another years for job seeking.
Okay. So the student who already graduated from the Taiwan University, they have to, in 1 year, they have to find a job that qualified for them to apply for the APRC, right?
No, for an ARC extension.
Oh, ARC extension.
Yes, ARC extension. Just like I mentioned that those year as student does not count for APRC years. So you need to work for 5 consecutive years. You need to hold employment ARC for 5 consecutive years before you can apply for an APRC.
Okay. How yes, or you already mentioned that the migrant workers, they cannot apply for the APRC, right?
Right.
So if because there is a question here that for the migrant workers who already who already working in Taiwan for 14 years, they ask if there any opportunity for them to apply a PRC.
I think there's opportunity, but as I mentioned, the domestic needs, domestic market needs is changing. So the government is thinking about whether they can recruit more global talent here in Taiwan, including those immigrant workers. They also obtain skills we need. So they are trying to amend the basic laws for that. But before that, I'm sorry that immigrant workers, those years as immigrant workers are not count for APRC applications. But I think the government is thinking about that, and the amendment for related regulations is going on. So perhaps in the near future, there will be more relaxations on regulations for that.
So maybe for the opportunity for the migrant workers, if they want to apply for the APRC in Taiwan, because the APRC is only limited for the professional workers. You mentioned about the white collar workers, right? Maybe if the migrant workers, they can have like they have the education, because we have open university in Taiwan, so they can get their certificate for the certificate
Degrees.
and degrees. They can have their degrees here in Taiwan, and then if they can find a professional job here in Taiwan, and then they're working for 5 consecutive years in Taiwan, and then they are eligible to apply for the APRC, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
They are changed their migrant workers ARC to an employment ARC.
Mhm.
Those years counts just as
Okay.
students.
Mhm. Okay. So let me just explain in bahasa Indonesia for the migrant workers who are working here. Ya. Untuk warga negara Indonesia yang bekerja sebagai pekerja migran di Taiwan sebenarnya memiliki kesempatan untuk apply APRC di sini. Hanya saja harus mendapatkan pekerjaan bukan sebagai pekerja migran tapi sebagai pekerja profesional di Taiwan selama 5 tahun. Baru setelah itu Bapak Ibu bisa apply APRC di Taiwan. Jadi kesempatan itu tetap terbuka asalkan bukan bekerja sebagai pekerja migran, tapi misalnya mengikuti universitas terbuka, mendapatkan ijazah, kemudian mendapatkan pekerjaan di Taiwan sebagai tenaga profesional. Ya. Okay, we are continue again to another questions. Is there a what is the minimum wages to meet the requirement to apply APRC?
Well, there are some options. So for an employment ARC holders, the minimum wages will be double. It changes every year because our government will publish this year's minimum wages for workers. So you need to earn double of the minimum wages, so you are qualified for APRC applications. That's one option. Or you can have 5 million NT dollars savings here in Taiwan, and you are also qualified for the financial support documents for APRC applications. And there are still some other options for that. You can check. Yes, more information is on our website.
Okay, thank you. And then there is a questions from Ibu Gita. She said that through the explanation, the minimum age for APRC applicant should be 20 years old. For the briefing, I am a dependent to my husband who is an APRC holder, and I heard some news that our child is eligible to apply for the APRC. He is already 6 years old. So my questions are, is the news that I heard true? Second, if it's true, so what is the regulation for child applying for APRC?
That's just the act I just mentioned. That's the act for the recruitment and employment of foreign professionals. For that, well, basically, according to a Basic Immigration Act, foreigners who wants to apply for APRC needs to be over 20 years old. But right now, for a child of foreign professionals, they can apply it as they are minor children. So their APRC residence years counting just like the timeline I showed in my slides, that they're 5 years counting starting from his father, the foreign professionals obtained his APRC. So after his father obtained the APRC, you count for 5 years. The child reside here for 5 years, and then he or she is qualified for APRC application, even that he or she is still under 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
True.
Thank you. And then there is also questions from Ibu Titin. She asked, as I know that for professional worker for science and technology field, it needs to find a minimum monthly salary of 160,000 NT dollar. Is this correct?
Well, just like I say that for APRC application, you need to double the minimum wages. So, and it changes every year. So it depends on which years you apply for your APRC. We will see what you can apply for the past years. So it changes every year.
Okay. This is okay. This is only my my curiosity because you know, the Taiwan now already changed its regulation for the, you know, for the 20 years, it becomes like 18 years to for them to become an adult.
Yes.
Yes, but for the APRC, why it's starting from 20 years old, not 18 years old?
Well, although we've already announced that adult age will be decreased to 18 years old, but that will start in January 1st, year 2023. So not right now, not yet.
Okay, so there is an opportunity for our Indonesian citizens who are still 20 years old, yeah, to apply
Yes.
for the APRC, yeah.
Yes.
But next in 2023, it will be 18 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is there any questions? Okay. Okay, there is a questions. If I want to open like business in Taiwan, for example, for culture or maybe coffee shop or like what to say, 农业. Can I apply for the APRC? Opening a business like a coffee shop? Yeah.
Well, it's not about what kind of business you start. It's about what kind of work permit you get. As I say that you need to be qualified for legal residency for 5 consecutive years before you can apply for APRC. So if you start your own business, you need to first apply for a permit from Ministry of Economy or some related government authorities, and then you apply to NIA for ARC. We will decide whether you are qualified for certain kind of ARC. So after you obtain that legal residence certificate for 5 consecutive years, you can apply for APRC. So it doesn't matter what kind of business you want to start with. It's about what kind of work permit and what kind of residence reasons you fall into.
Okay. Hopefully it can answer the Pak Iman Adipurnama questions. Yeah. And then we also have another questions from Siegfried Sutanto. Good evening. National Immigration Agency told me that I could apply for APRC per May 2020, while my APRC will expire on March 2022. Is it possible to apply APRC earlier?
Sorry about, would you please repeat that question again? His APRC is going to be expired or ARC? Because
Yeah.
APRC will not be expired.
Yeah, his APRC will expire on March 2020.
March 2022.
2022. March 2022. And then, I mean, the immigration told me that I could apply for APRC for May 2022, while my APRC will expire on March 2022.
Okay.
So
Okay.
is it possible to apply APRC earlier so he doesn't have to, I mean, yeah.
Okay, I understand that he mentioned that his ARC will be expired in March, but he will be qualified for APRC application in May. No,
Yes.
You cannot. You need to make sure that when you apply for your APRC, before you get the results, your ARC need to be valid until you get the result of your APRC. So he needs to make an extension first.
Okay, get it. And how about company or factory migrant worker who have skill and fluent in Chinese? Can they apply? I mean, they just
Yeah.
about like they are white collar workers.
They are
They
white
can
collar
apply.
workers.
Yeah.
Oh, if they are white collar workers, they are qualified for APRC applications. But if they are using immigrant workers visa to apply for an ARC, right at the moment they are not qualified. But if their ARC reasons is employment, that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a question. We already work as a professional worker. Then we resign. I mean, they quit from their job and looking for another company. Can they apply? It's about ARC for job seeking for 6 months. So they already working in Taiwan, but they resign. So maybe the ARC that they already get from their previous job already come to expiry, and they need to extend their ARC. So they need to find a job for 6 months, and maybe they ask if they can have another 6-month extension of
Okay, so
ARC.
for these foreign professionals who resign from their jobs, they can apply for a 6 month extension twice. So that would be 1 year at most. So 6 year for the first time, if not enough, another time. That's top for 1 year.
And then there's questions also from Pak Edward Suhartono. If I got professional APRC in 2020 and my wife became my dependent in 2021, does she need to wait for 5 years to apply APRC, or can she apply after 4 years? She got master's in Taiwan University.
Well, if his wife only applied for dependent ARC and then he's not a the new law is not applicable to his wife because the act is only applicable to foreign professionals, means that you need to have an foreign professionals ARC, just like I mentioned. If you only apply for dependent ARC, that does not count. So the deduction will not apply to his wife who's holding an dependent ARC.
Okay, so have to be like 5 years dependent.
Right.
Okay. And then Pak Edward Suhartono also asked, her consecutive years is counted from 2020 or 2021. So you already answered that. So it's from 2020 because have to be like 5 years for the dependent APRC applicants. So it should be like 5 years. Yeah, cannot be deducted, even though this person got master in Taiwan University.
Just like I say, that deduction only apply to those foreign professionals, not their dependent.
Okay. Okay, there is next questions from, I think, Ibu ya, Miss Miftah Fajriya. How is the applicants obtain both their How if the applicants obtain both their MA and PhD degree in Taiwan? Can they get 3 years deduction accumulated from MA and PhD, I mean from the master degree and the doctoral degree.
I'm sorry again, I did not hear that clearly. It's
this person, Ibu Mifta, she already graduate from Taiwan University for her master degree and her doctoral degree. So
okay.
she can get
no,
3
you
years
can choose
deduction.
one, only one.
Only one.
Either you can choose master or PhD. We cannot add it up. So 2 years. Yeah.
Only 2 years. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. From Patricia Natalie. Hello, is there any relaxation regulations regarding marriage to Taiwanese? I am holding white collar ARC without going back to Indonesia to apply marriage certificate.
Well, what's her reference here?
I think this is not about the APRC. I think it's about the marriage law, yeah, between Indonesia and Taiwan.
Yes.
Yes.
I think the document is still necessary for.
Yes. I think that's I think that's about it. Thank you. Also, Jess Chung for the presentation about the law and regulation in Taiwan, especially for the alien permanent resident certificate. It's a very fruitful, and then it's gonna be very useful for our Indonesian citizens in Taiwan, especially for those who really needs to apply for the APRC. And then thank you for all the questions for our participants. There's a lot of very good questions. And then for this webinar, I will give the floor back to Mr. Fajar Nuradi.
Thank you, Bu Eva, and thank you, Jess. But can we have another 15 minutes to address one or two questions? This coming to me, not personally, but directly. There is a question that what is the benefit differences or difference after we converted from ARC to APRC? First question. And the second one, can you explain more? I think Mr. Robert Yasaputra, he would like to hear more explanation about gold ARC card. And the first question is from Dio Prambodo. Jess, can you explain this or respond on these two questions?
Fajar, I'm sorry, I didn't hear first question clearly. Would you please repeat that again? The second one is about gold card, right?
Yeah. The first one is about the question is what is the benefit or the differences between the ARC holder and APRC holders?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. So for the first questions, I think the difference will be in many ways. But to my knowledge, I only know the difference between in residency here. So the first benefit is that you no longer need to apply for extension. And that's for because holding an ARC, you need to always keep an eye on your expiry of your ARC. And for an APRC, it's a permanent one. If you do not violate any regulations which will make your APRC invalid, it's basically always valid. So you can use that to reside here in Taiwan all your life. So that's the basic difference between ARC and APRC. But I think there are still lots of difference in many other ways. For example, like for your tax, for maybe, well, there's no difference in your health security. I don't think there's any differences, but I don't know details. So what I can answer is that the only difference in residency is that you
lifetime stay
yes,
permit.
yes, you no longer need to extend for your ARC. And the second one, the Gold Card. The Gold Card is the key policy from the Act for the recruitment and employment of foreign professionals. And well, basically, for foreigners who wants to work here in Taiwan, they usually need to apply for a work permit from the Ministry of Labor. But for the Gold Card holders, just like I mentioned, that it's a 4-in-1 card. So you simply apply online, and you can only apply online. And the related government sectors will review your case. You don't have to go to Ministry of Labor to apply for your work permit, and then go to Bureau of Consular Affairs to apply for your visa, and come to us to apply for your residence certificate. You don't need to do that. You just need to send in your application documents online, and all those government sectors will review your case at once. So by the end of the review, you will get if you are approved, you will get your employment Gold Card, and that's a work permit, open work permit, and residence certificate, re-entry permit, and also a residence visa. So that's for those foreign special professionals, and those foreign special professionals, their professionals will only be categorized into, just like I mentioned, 9 special categories. Those 9 special categories is defined by our Council of National Development. Those categories are specially needed by this nation. So that's the basic difference between normal employment and employment Gold Card.
Very clear explanation. And just a very short question. Within the 5 consecutive years, can the applicants like take a leave back to Indonesia and back forth?
Yes, of course they can do that, because with their ARC they always have the re-entry permit, so they can go back and forth. But one difference is that if you leave Taiwan for more than 3 months within those 5 consecutive years, when you apply for your APRC, you need to make an extra document. That's your criminal records from your own country and your health check here in Taiwan. So if you don't leave Taiwan for over 3 months within those 5 consecutive years, you don't need to provide those 2 documents. But if you do, you need to provide that additional document for your APRC.
He or she is still eligible if they take a leave less than 3 months, right?
Yes. If they leave for more than 3 months, that's okay. But they need to make sure that they stay in Taiwan for at least, well, for foreign professionals, for at least 183 days on average for those 5 consecutive years.
Very clear. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Jess. And I hope we'll see you again in other topics, webinar. If you don't mind, we will invite you again and again. Since I think we received more questions this evening, and we have no enough time to respond all questions. So secondly, if you don't mind, we will pass all questions to you, and then you will respond, and we will send back to those who raised these questions.
Sure.
Well, thank you once again, Jess, for your time and your expertise on this issue. So, terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian atas partisipasinya pada webinar kita pada malam hari ini. Terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Cukup banyak yang masuk, namun mohon maaf karena keterbatasan waktu, kita harus akhiri webinar malam ini. Insya Allah pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang masuk akan kami teruskan kepada Jess untuk beliau tanggapi, dan jawaban itu akan kami teruskan atau kembalikan kepada para penanya. Dan pada Bapak Ibu sekalian, rekan-rekan WNI, mohon kalau memang ada pertanyaan juga silahkan disampaikan pada kolom komentar di Facebook dan juga di YouTube, dan kami akan insya Allah akan teruskan dan akan kami berikan tanggapannya. Terima kasih sekali lagi atas partisipasinya. Mohon maaf apabila ada hal yang kurang berkenan dalam penyelenggaraan webinar kali ini, dan mohon komentar juga topik apa lagi yang bisa kita atau kami sajikan kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian. Semoga kita bisa adakan lagi webinar yang lebih seru lagi. Once again, yes, many thanks, and we'll see you again very soon. And therefore, we conclude. I end this webinar with Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, and thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for your invitation. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye, Jess.
Good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Bye.